Welcome to the Runway, where we cover current events in crypto, Web3, and tech. It's Thursday, March 14th. Let's take off. And a lot happening this week. I've got my assistant here too. She's going to help me with today's episode. Senior Bloomberg ETF analyst Eric Balchunas says an Ethereum ETF is growing less likely to be approved by May. SEC's radio silence on Ethereum ETF, not a good sign. A lack of communication from the United States Securities and Exchange Commission around Ether, exchange-traded funds, ETFs toward issuers could be a bad sign for those hoping for Ether ETF approvals by May. Speaking to Cointelegraph, Bloomberg ETF analyst Eric Balchunas said there was more than a few reasons he's now downgraded the chance of Ether ETFs approval to just 35%. So I think the main analysis here is that the SEC has sort of followed a similar thing before with the Bitcoin ETF, where they sort of delay, waste everybody's time, prevent efficient markets from forming, and basically violate every single aspect of their mandate, waste everyone's time and money. And it looks like they're following the same playbook here. I do think eventually the Ether ETFs will be approved, but it might not be with this head of the SEC. It might have to wait after our next election. Not positive on that, though. Hopefully, the courts can compel the SEC again here. And I have a strong feeling that that will happen if they just try to deny these ETFs. We'll see a very similar thing that we saw with the Bitcoin ETFs. This is a interesting story that's been unwinding for the past couple days. Binance's top crypto crime investigator is being detained in Nigeria. Tigran Gambarian, a former crypto-focused U.S. federal agent, and a second Binance executive, Nadeem Anjarwalla, have been held in Abuja without passports for 2 weeks. This is almost like a straight-up hostage situation that's occurring here with a U.S. citizen and someone who's done a lot. I'm not positive, but I think I might have read an article about Tigran back in the day, basically helping bust a pedophile ring using Bitcoin's blockchain to sort of track down these terrible criminals. I'm not positive it was him though, but I think it was. And I think he's done a lot of great stuff for the industry. He's obviously one of the good guys, and he's a U.S. citizen. So very surprised that the current administration is not speaking up about this. I mean, this is like a foreign government literally holding one of our citizens hostage, someone who served the U.S. and done a lot of good things. Not a good look here. Nigeria has failed to control their population because their population does not trust them with their currency because they've essentially hyperinflated the currency multiple times. They've destroyed the trust of the people. And these people here in Nigeria don't want to use the e-Naira or whatever CBDC they're cooking up. They want to use Bitcoin and other decentralized alternatives. So they're trying to use these guys to help track down people who are doing certain things in their country, but they're doing it as like almost a hostage situation. This is very wild and sort of crazy. What's happening. Next up, Marc Andreessen's VC was reportedly behind Kickstarter's disaster pivot to crypto. Interesting story here. Several years back, Kickstarter tried to revive its ailing brand by pivoting to the blockchain. At the time, Web3 was still a relatively new and exciting concept, and company leaders seemed to hope that a new direction might rejuvenate its business. In December of 2021, the company announced that it would be migrating its entire platform onto a blockchain protocol and pursuing new ways to make Web3 a core part of its operations. Kickstarter was already having problems, and they basically at the peak of the market almost, they wanted to like switch everything over to a blockchain platform and get involved in the space, right? So, of course, that didn't really work out well for them, or it may not have, but they were already a sinking ship in a lot of ways. So you're watching the mainstream press here rallying behind and trying to push a narrative that crypto is bad. That's all I read with the subtext of that story. Asia Broadband's second gold-backed NFT collection, the Golden Rascals, are now in the final minting phase and listed on the Solana blockchain. Asia Broadband Inc., AABB, or the company is pleased to announce the company's new non-fungible token NFT collection, the Shorts Rascal Club, or Golden Rascals. They've got the Golden Baboons, and now they've got the Golden Rascals. My biggest problem with this project and collection is the fact that you cannot actually redeem your gold. They claim that a lot of this stuff is backed by gold, and they've got this mining thing going, and all of these NFTs are, backed by gold. Well, there's no way to claim that, there's no way to verify that, and there's no way to prove that. Craig Wright committed perjury in UK trial over Satoshi claims. Copa says, no surprise here, this guy's literally a pathological liar. He's definitely not Satoshi in my opinion. This is ridiculous that he's even claiming all this stuff. Billionaire hedge funder Bill Ackman mulls Bitcoin. So as we talked about on the last couple episodes, we saw that he was starting to get curious about Bitcoin. He was starting to try to understand it, and he had some wild theories, and a lot of people commented on his post on X, and we're trying to sort of help him out there. Miracle Cash and More, Amsterdam store heralds a new era for blockchain. The digital and physical worlds increasingly are merging together. People enjoy the beautiful weather on the Amstel in Amsterdam, the Netherlands on May 31st, 2020, as the country eases lockdown measures. There's a nice little picture of Amsterdam. But at first, forecast blockchain was seen as technology which would provide its users two things, anonymity and security. It was a form of transaction perfectly suited to the new digital age. Then, again, things changed, and with many hailing it as a new mass currency, of course, such changes aren't surprising. Let's not forget forget that Amazon was originally a retailer for used books. A cutting-edge but modest store in the vibrant heart of Amsterdam signals the next stage of what many call the phygital economy, the blending of digital and physical consumer trends. It's a groundbreaking move that heralds a new dawn for the blockchain and cryptocurrency. Miracle Cash and More has unveiled this latest venture. This physical manifestation of innovation represents a significant departure from traditional cryptocurrency exchanges, providing a tangible space where investors can convene, transact, and immerse themselves in the intricacies of blockchain technology firsthand. Nestled in Amsterdam, a burgeoning fintech hub within Europe, Miracle Cash and More's latest endeavor is an example of a dynamic ecosystem for startups in the Netherlands. Right, so this is a kind of a cool little crypto centric hub, little startup, allows people to meet, to talk, kind of like a meetup group. I think this is a cool concept, a cool idea. Let's move on to the X Factor, which is our X takes for the day. Unfortunately, there currently is no candidate who can fix this. You can buy Bitcoin, though, as a way to vote with your dollars, send a clear message, and potentially even save the US long term. A return to the gold standard. This is messages from Jason. As I've said on All In and 10X, I am a single issue voter. I will vote for whoever is dedicated to stopping this madness. Don't care about anything else but spending, because we can't solve any of our other problems if we don't fix the balance sheet. And that's what Brian is responding to here, and basically saying this is, Bitcoin is sort of a vote to opt out of that system or to challenge that assertion that the government just keeps spending money. Ryan Selkis' post here: no one should take the SEC no one should take the SEC under Gary Gensler seriously. Investor protection, capital formation, fair and efficient markets in one chart after the SEC was sued. Yeah, so you're watching capital flow into Bitcoin, fair and efficient markets form. And this is really, what the SEC's mandate is to facilitate these things. And they're doing just the complete opposite, right? And it just shows in a chart here. You can kind of see exactly what's happening. Here someone says, might as well show the chart before the approval. And then someone says, irrelevant. What this chart shows is enormous structural pent-up institutional demand that was impeded for political reasons outside of the SEC's mandate. Could not agree more there. Lance Lambert: if U.S. income spiked 69%, we return to pre-pandemic housing affordability levels. If U.S. home prices fell 41%, we'd return to pre-pandemic affordability. If mortgage rates fell 4.3 percentage points, we return to pre-pandemic affordability. To be clear, the ifs don't mean that I think these are possible paths. Instead, it's how far the given metric would have to shift in order to return to housing affordability to historic norms. As of today, we are on the path of pre-pandemic housing affordability. Now, many of you who are involved in this space or are interested in Bitcoin know exactly why. It's because they printed trillions of dollars out of thin air and injected them into the economy. And, the cost of goods, the cost of things, especially rent, housing, have gone up because those goods and actual physical assets need to be repriced with the inflated supply of dollars or of currency. Brian Armstrong here. This, in part, is why Bitcoin matters. It's a return to the gold standard that we left fully in 1971, a return to financial discipline. Bitcoin will be an important check and balance on excessive deficit spending, which is essential to the US and the dollar remaining strong. I do agree. We'll follow Robert Sterling here, who's a CFO, investor, and sneakerhead, and he put this post up initially. People should be very concerned about the biases being programmed into AI from Elon here. You can kind of see the different topics and sentences that they're using to train each demographic group. And you can see here, disabled people, blacks, gay people, people with a disability, Asians, homosexuals, transgenders, gays, lesbians, Muslims, Africans, homosexuals, Arabs, fat people, Jews, Hispanics, Latinos, Hindus, African Americans, Mexicans, women's, Indians, non-disabled, people without disability. You can see all those things where they're really focusing on in their AI training. They're focusing so much on race and physical differences, and that's like really their focus. They really love to just program all of this sort of woke division into these products. Eric Voorhees: every financial planner in the world told you not to buy it. Here's Bitcoin over the past 14 years, and it shows it as literally up 2.4 billion% as the best performing asset in all of human history. In the same time, gold is up 95%, and the S&P 500 is up 344%. But you can see the astronomical return that you're getting on an asset like Bitcoin. And this is really profound. And this chart just kind of like shows it all. It just kind of tells it all. It's just a great, beautiful visualization of the opportunity cost of missing out here. In case you missed it, Wired was recently community noted. Community notes, like Bitcoin itself, is a functioning example of a network of anonymous peers working together for the greater good. Texas residents have complained that industrial-scale Bitcoin mines are driving up energy prices and destroying the quality of life of those living nearby. The context and the decentralized community notes community had this to say: this article revives the misleading claim that Bitcoin mining destabilized grids. This has been debunked in peer-reviewed research that shows Bitcoin mining A, helps stabilize grids, B, causes lower power prices, and C, incentivizes the build-out of renewable energy, which is something we've spoken about a lot on our pod here. Nick Carter: speaking of academic frauds, the fact that Bitcoin energy hater-in-chief DeVries has pivoted to hating on AI energy use and continues to trick journalists with his made-up metrics is absolutely Hilarious. Nick says, it's not about energy use. It's not about efficiency. It's not about climate. It's not about household power prices. It's just a neo-Malthusian death cult that hates human flourishing and wants to return us to a pre-industrial era to atone for the sin of industrialization. Some spicy words there from our man, Nick. Paul Grewal.eth, who is the chief legal officer of Coinbase. Don't want to read our entire 78-page brief in our Third Circuit suit against the SEC. Just read this to understand how broken the commission's approach has been. So here it just shows all of the conflicting statements that the SEC sort of makes year in and year out. It's just disgusting. I mean, they're just all over the map saying all sorts of different things, not making any sense, wasting taxpayer dollars and time. They literally going against their mandates of capital formation and efficient markets. Dennis Porter, we've never seen Bitcoin reach a new all-time high before the halving. We have never seen billions of institutional money flow into Bitcoin. There's never been so many states looking to pass pro-Bitcoin laws. Do not blink. History is happening right before your eyes. Balaji, here's what he has to say. Suppose there were 10 shares and you had one. Now they print 90 more shares and give you one. You have more shares. Your share went from 1 to 2, but you have less ownership. So instead of having 10% ownership, you've now gone down to owning 2 out of 100, which is 1/100th. You've been diluted, basically. 1/50th. So you've been diluted by a massive amount. And that's how inflation works. People are misled into thinking they're getting richer while getting poorer. Perfect example of this was the stimulus checks. And now you're seeing the price of all the goods in society go up tremendously, which you got your $1,200 check. A lot of people got the $1,200 check or 14 or whatever they gave people. And now you're seeing that, hey, your rent just went up 50%. Now it's an ongoing expense, food, gas, all these different things, right? U.S. President Joe Biden is once again including crypto taxes in his proposed budget, including a mining excise tax and amending wash sale trading and mark-to-market rules to include crypto. I think the wash trading stuff is not really controversial. The mining excise tax is essentially a de facto ban on mining in the United States, so very disgusting. It's obviously a non-starter. Biden administration is proposing a 30% tax on electricity used by Bitcoin miners, even if you are off-grid using your own solar and wind generation. All of the reasons they provided are pretextual. Their real reason is they want to suppress Bitcoin and launch a CBDC. I don't know about that, but what I do know is that this 30%, if they tax a certain use case for people using energy by 30%, it just basically kills the entire industry in the United States. So it's just a non-starter. It's just terrible governing, terrible thought process, terrible administration, honestly. Today, Coinbase filed our opening brief in the Third Circuit challenging the SEC's denial of our rulemaking petition. TLDR, the SEC's denial is arbitrary and capricious. I wonder where we've heard that before. An abuse of discretion and a violation of the Administrative Procedures Act. Paul Grewal is really bringing the goods and will likely hand the SEC another loss. Reducing methane is our strongest lever to reduce climate change. This is what the UN claims. So how are industries doing in their efforts to mitigate methane, percent of total CO2e emissions? Bitcoin is really the only industry that consumes power that has a way to actually capture that wasted emission, that wasted methane. It is actually burned cleanly at the source. The so-called TikTok ban is actually a Trojan horse that could allow the president to ban any website or app merely by asserting that it's controlled or guided by a foreign adversary. Here we go. This is Robert RFK Jr. sort of talking about the new law that got passed, and I do agree it's just more power for the government that they will eventually likely abuse just because power does corrupt a lot of the time. The new OpenAI logo is really on point, and here is Elon showing his logo that just says OpenAI, lie. It's all a lie, and I agree. It is not OpenAI, it is closed AI. Finally, I'm going to leave you guys with this. When you print $5 trillion that you put into the economy, you have diluted the value of the money. This is what happens when you have the quantity of something and you add more to it. This is dilution. The principle is so simple that a child can understand. I believe this is Thomas Massey in Congress showing the dilution effect. And you add in water, which you're just diluting. You're diluting everyone's ownership. You're diluting everybody's purchasing power, and it needs to stop. I will leave you guys with that. Stay safe, stay blessed, and never stop learning. Keep an open mind. Thanks for listening.